morning everyone, it's Carol at Oak House Journals. Thanks so much for joining me today. Hope you're all happy and well. I'm going to have a go at my Margarete Miller Collage Weekly Planner assignment for week 45. As I'm always saying, if the challenge is new to you, please look in the description box below the video for any information there and a link to Margarete Miller's channel. So let's quickly go through the prompts. Something noisy. Well, I've chosen balloons for something noisy. Balloons, if you pop them, they make a loud noise, and also if you pull on the necks and let the air out slowly, it makes a horrible screechy noise. So I've picked a couple of bright red balloons. A signature, I've gone for this lovely vintage document here and this beautiful signature down at the bottom. Something underlined in red. Well, I'm going to underline something on my collage and I've gone for these washi stickers, and as you can see I've got some red tones here, so I'm going to be using those. A formula, I've gone for a page out of a vintage maths exercise book, and as you can see it's covered with calculations and formulas. Something found in a yard. So I've chosen this lovely little image here of this little girl, and I love the moodiness of this, and I particularly like it because she's got a little bit of red on her skirt there, so absolutely love that image. And finally, bonus, a definition. Well, I went with the definition of the word noisy, which is the first prompt. I used this page out of an illustrated dictionary because of the colour palette, and as you can see my printer didn't take it particularly well when I was trying to print out the definition, but this area here has given me enough for me to be able to work with. And as you can see I've got a very neutral colour palette going on here, apart from these images which are going to give me my pop of colour. I may also use these. Now these were some pieces of mop-up paper or tissue paper from a gel printing play session that I had recently. You've seen me use a portion of this in a previous assignment, so I'm wondering whether or not to use, I'm just looking for the right side here, and this is the right side. I'm wondering whether to use this on my piece, perhaps as a background piece, because it picks up the shades of grey on here. But I don't know whether I want to rip this down or not. So as always, I'm playing safe. I'm going to get my collage more or less in place, set up as I want it, and then decide whether I use this as my background. So let's get started. I'm going to pop that away for a moment. I'm going to put that on here. Now the idea I had in mind was a bit like the Banksy's girl with the red balloon, something along those lines. So I may well fussy cut out my balloons, and the idea that I had was if I cut away the strings on my balloon, then I can perhaps use my signature as the strings and have them going down my page. So I'm going to go with that idea. I've got my little girl on here, and I could put my signature to one side of her like that and have my balloons there, and that will work pretty well. So I'm going to fussy cut these balloons. So there's my little balloons cut out. Now I need to get my definition in, so I'm going to take away this bottom portion down here with my ruler. I've actually got a green word in there which I don't like. I need to cover up in some way. So I'm just going to have a play with this scrap here to see whether I can use the top portion of the definition, which I particularly like because the example it gives is a noisy giggling group of children. Well, it's reference to a child, so I've got that, and I'm just going to take away a little portion so that I can get rid of that green. Let's do it this way. I want to see what it looks like before I use this definition here. Now I know this is all wonky, so please ignore that. I'm just going to have a little play and see if I can level it up so that I can get a feel for what it would look like if I put it underneath my image. So something like that. And if I move my image across, then I can just get the word noisy in and this part of the definition, and then the signature I wanted to come down here, so it's not going to obscure that, which is what I had in mind. Also, if I use this portion here, that definition there, then I can get some more of the plain going up the side, or the plain paper going up the side. So that's going to work. So I'm going to just rip this away, again using my ruler. Doesn't matter about that at the moment, so let's see how that looks. And as I say, I may well rip this down smaller and go for the tissue paper background. So that's going to go on there like that, I'm thinking. And as you can see, I have covered up that. And it's such a shame that this just wasn't a little bit longer so that it was peeping over the top. And there's nothing I can do at the bottom here to make that happen. So I'm just going to have to live with that. I'm actually moving my image across the word adjective down there because I don't want too much of this showing, but I do have the definition there and the word noisy there. So that's working quite nicely for me there and gives me plenty of room on this right hand side to get in my balloon and also my signature. I am going to rip down just in front of this last row of writing. Now I'm pretty certain that that's going to be hidden, but it just gives me a little bit of leeway to play, and I will rip it across the bottom here as well. So let's bring this back in and see what this looks like. My balloon is going to go over the top of this squiggle. That's the plan. So let's bring this in and see if I can join it up. Move that over. Maybe drop that down a little bit like that. I'm going to take away that little bit of writing just here in a second and move that in a little bit more like that. And if I angle my balloons right, then I can get a little bit of a thread there. It's a shame to lose most of the signature like this. So let's see what else I can do. Maybe have my balloons out there. Like that. That doesn't work. Okay, what about if I turn my signature around and have it this way? Oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? So I'm going to rip it across this fold line here. So let's pop this back in here. See what it looks like. May well take away that squiggle down there because I would like to bring my balloons down lower. I like having my little girl on here, so I'm going to glue her in place. I'm going to have my signature running this way down rather than that way, and I'm going to take away this line of writing here. And I'm going to level up this top portion here. So that on there like that. This coming in here. I'd like the balloons to be touching the corner of this picture. So that's what I'm aiming for there. And I need to bring that down more to get that. I think it's going to have to be something like that. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah. So what I think I'll do here is take away a portion of this all the way down. I'm roughly lining up this right hand edge of the image so that it's barely touching that line up there at the start of the signature and just almost touching that piece down there. And then I think my balloons, if I move that down slightly, my balloons could go something like that. And I've just got that little edge up there. This is a little bit too long for me, so I was just wondering whether I could reduce it down to that and see what the signature looks like there. And yeah, that works for me, so I'm just going to rip it along the bottom. Okay, I'm happy with how that looks, so that it looks like the string from the balloon is coming down and being the signature, and I'm liking the placement against this. So I'm going to glue this in place now. This is all glued in place now, and I'm quite happy with that. And I could just go ahead, glue that down on there and have that on there like that, and then just go in with my red lines, which I'm thinking of doing down here to underline the word noisy, and maybe a line going across the bottom there, so I'm underlining the whole thing. But before I do that, I need to ascertain whether or not I want to leave this in place or whether I want to bring in my wash up tissue paper. Now, this looks absolutely gorgeous on here. It doesn't fit exactly inside my borders, but I'm not bothered. And I do have a heavy corner down here compared to this side, but again, I think that will work. So I could actually go in and leave this as is if I wanted to, and just have the tissue and the paintwork peeping out, with obviously some trimming off down the side there like that. So I could do that and that would work, but I think this then becomes overbearing. So if I'm going to reduce this down, this line here is the natural place for me to do that. And the other consideration is whether this corner and the lines that I have down there are too heavy. So first things first, I'm going to fold it across there underneath that line to see how that looks. So let me check it with this little one. I'm still liking my margin down there. Gives me too much of a margin here, so I'm just going to take a portion off that edge there. I've ripped down this background piece. I've taken a little portion off the bottom and off that side, so that's what it looks like now. I've got that line down the side there, which I'm leveling up my torn edge here from the definition to. So I could have it like that on my piece and use the formula page from my exercise book to frame this little piece here. But what I'm wondering is whether or not to fold it so that I have some detail going on the left hand side and just have this on the right hand side. I say fold it because the easiest way to see if I'm going to like that is by folding it before I rip it. And then line this up so that I've got some writing going across the top there. I'm going to rip that away now. Let's see what it looks like on this. So I'm more or less committed myself to having this as my background. So let's just roughly put this in place. Yeah, I'm loving that. I'm going to put a piece of white paper down the side here to see if I can get an impression of what that will look like if that solid line isn't there. So let's do that. Just got a piece of copier paper here. With the white paper in place, I think that both will work, that it looks lovely like that, and equally it will work with that heavy border down there to act almost to balance out the balloons. I'm going to go with that. So let me just get that done. I'm wondering whether to drop this down slightly and try and have an equal border of this wash up paper all the way around. So I'm going to trim it up and have it like that. The only thing I need to get on now is the lines for something underlined in red for that prompt. I'm going for these deeper shades of red to pick up the moodiness. These three down here are calling to me, and that one as well. So I'm just going to snip those off. I'm going to go with a tiny portion under the word noisy. I may well add a couple down here. Okay, so that's what my piece looks like with my lines put on, and I've got a little portion left here, and I'm wondering about putting it up there and maybe a slightly smaller piece in there. There we go, everybody. That's my finished piece for this week. And if I quickly go through the prompts, something noisy, well, that's my red balloons here. A signature, well, that's down the side here, and I try to make it look like the string from the balloon. Something underlined in red, well, I went with the word noisy and then a bit of underlining down here, and then I did a bit more up here, not underlining, but to try and carry on the red theme. In hindsight, I wish that I hadn't taken that line so far onto the actual picture itself, and I really wish that I hadn't done this under here or had done less of it, but I've done it, so I can't take it back now. A formula, well, that's my vintage exercise page here. Something found in a yard, well, that's my little girl there. And bonus, a definition, that's down in the bottom here. And as you saw, I used a piece of my gel printing play session wash up tissue paper in the background here. So yes, I like it, I have to say. Probably a bit too much red now that I've added these stripes in. I think it would have been far better just having the balloon, her skirt, and that much done. I think that would have been perfect, and adding these extra lines down here and up here was overkill. But as I've just said, I've done it now, I can't take it back, but I can learn from my lesson. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you again for the lovely comments you always leave me and for supporting my channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, take care, keep smiling, bye bye now.